What's up, football world? I am Bucky Brooks. This is the Bucky Brooks Show. And today, I want to talk about the team that is near and dear to my heart, the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars are on a bye week this week, so they won't play in week 8. So this is a perfect opportunity to have what we call a State of the Union, where the Jaguars sit, what has been good, what needs to be corrected, and how do they go forward. And I'm going to say this. One, shameless plug. If you haven't seen the latest hunt over on jaguars.com, you got to check that out, because what you're going to see is some behind the scenes insight that I wish that I could give out, because I'm privy to some of these conversations, but it's out there for the world to see. So we want to check that out. Secondly, I want to make sure I shout out FanDuel Sportsbook for being a sponsor of the show and all the things that we have going at Believe. Without them, some of this isn't possible, and I want to make sure that we pay that off. But when it comes to the Jaguars, I got to say, when you go back and you think about the odds on this team, according to FanDuel Sportsbook, 7.5 wins was the over-under. And the over on that was minus 700. And right now, the Jaguars are sitting at 4-3. So it looks good, given the schedule, that they may be able to get over that set line. But when you go back and you think about what this team is and what we were anticipating, I think if you're the Jaguars, you have to be pleased that you're sitting here at 4-3. And even though you raced out to a 4-1 start, you're in the middle of a 2-game losing streak. When you look at the schedule and how it was going to kick off, there was a 4-game stretch that you're just coming out of that you wondered what it was going to look like. And in that 4-game stretch, you had the San Francisco 49ers, the Kansas City Chiefs, you had the Seattle Seahawks, and you finished with the LA Rams over in London. Being optimistic, you had to say, hey, man, maybe we can get the 2-2. Being realistic, maybe you're saying, 1-3 is probably more realistic. 0-4 would have been awful and not what you wanted to see, but something that you could understand given the teams and the level of play that you're facing. When you think about San Francisco being 5-2, Kansas City being 3-3, Seattle and the Rams being at the top of the NFC West, looking at the fact that the Jaguars played well during that stretch and able to win 2 of those games, you feel good about. The good thing, and we talk about, like, when you look at your record, you always want to find what are the big wins, what are the bad losses. Where the big wins, San Francisco, Kansas City, back-to-back, going on the road, knocking off the 49ers in their place, which is crazy because the environment is really, really tough. It's hard to beat them at their place. And then coming back on Monday night, playing the Kansas City Chiefs, primetime game at the bank. It was raucous. It was rocking and rolling, all those things. You get the win, terrific. Seattle comes in, the emotional high of playing on Monday, hard to generate that again that Sunday. And I'll be honest, the Seattle Seahawks just came and kind of put a beat down on them just in terms of being able to dominate the trenches. And then the final part, going to London, playing the Rams over there. The Jags decided to go over early. The Rams do a turn and burn trip. And I'll be honest, like, it was a beat down from the beginning. It wasn't competitive in terms of feeling like the Jags could get in it. And so sometimes you have those games in the year. And the reason why we all feel like the way that we feel right now is because 2-game losing streak, and the last time we saw the Jags play, it wasn't to the standard. And when you have that disappointment, it is hard to really reflect and say, hey, this team is ahead of schedule. First-year head coach Liam Cohen has done a really good job of getting this team to this point. But how can we go from here and make sure that we're a team that can compete for a playoff berth, whether that is winning the division title, 2 games back of the Indianapolis Colts now, who have been the surprise of the league with Daniel Jones, but 2 games remaining to take care of business against the Colts. You can control your own destiny in that regard. But you're sitting here and you're trying to figure out, okay, what are the positives? What are the things that have gone really, really well this season? What are the things that you can hang your hat on? But beyond the X's and O's and the players, what is it that you feel great about? And I'm going to be honest, because I'm around the team a lot and I'm there every weekend in the locker room, at games, on the sideline, really having a great feel for the team and what's going on. I got to tell you, the best part of what is taking place now is the chemistry and connection within this team. And you hear about it all the time. Great teams have an unbelievable bond. People are talking about it, feels like family. I would just say that there's a closeness and a connectivity on great teams that you must have to achieve at the highest level. You want to be a championship team, you got to have championship caliber chemistry because there's going to be a storm, there's going to be some adversity that you have to deal with, and you have to pull through leaning on each other to be able to get it done. No different than playing complementary football where offense, defense, and special teams complement each other. If one side is struggling, the other side picks it up and vice versa. Well, I'll say the chemistry and connection for this team is so great because players can have great chemistry, right? Like you can have a bond with your teammates that is terrific, and you'll play for your brothers, as they always talk about. They talk about the brotherhood and playing for one another and sacrificing your own individual stuff to make sure that the team benefits. And that comes from like player-led, player-driven teams where you're willing to sacrifice with your teammates for your teammates because you know the importance of it. You foster those relationships and you build that connectivity and closeness by spending a lot of time together, not only at the workplace, but at home. On your own time, you have dinners, you have different things where you get together and just connect and just spend time because the more you know about your teammates, the more willing you are to give of yourself to make sure that you're a great teammate in return. So that the player-to-player chemistry, I kind of expected, right? When you play long enough in this league and you play with guys and you have long-term friendships or relationships, you tend to pour into those people. The thing that's the biggest surprise to me is the connectivity between the players and the coaches. And when I mean connectivity, I mean, think about the high school level of connection that you might have had with your high school coach. My high school coach, Earl Smith, back in Raleigh, North Carolina, he was the most important man to me outside of my dad. And the reason why is because he was dependable, reliable, what he said, he stood on, he did all those things. He was stable at a time where high school sports can be chaotic. He gave you the sense of stability and structure and discipline that we all need. In this locker room here in Jacksonville, the same kind of discipline, structure, connectivity exists. And exists because Liam Cohen, Tony Baselli, James Gladstone, general manager, are all on the same page. When you think about them being on the same page, it now allows the head coach and the team to implement a structure that is very demanding of players, but also very compassionate and empathetic to players. Meaning, man, I can coach you up hard. I can demand a lot for you, but I can send you this text to check in with your family to see how everything is going. When you have coaches that are genuinely doing that and not seeking anything in return, that begins to build a relationship that extends beyond the field. And when you build those relationships that extend beyond the field, what you have in between the lines are guys that don't want to disappoint the coaches because it almost becomes a father-son type deal as opposed to an employer-employee situation or coach-player situation that doesn't have a true connection. Because of that, man, this team just buys into what the coaches are saying, and they buy into it not without questioning, but they buy into it because there's a genuine trust and respect there. That didn't exist the previous regime. When I talk to players, multiple players on multiple occasions, separate games, separate events, have told me, man, you just want to play so hard for this coaching staff. To me, that is a reflection of the diligent work that the coaching staff has done to make sure that those players feel valued, feel welcome, feel loved, but also you give these guys demands that you have higher standards than they can have for themselves. And if they can reach those standards, everything else will come. And the reason why I believe this environment has changed is because Liam Cohen and Tony Baselli and James Gladstone, two of those guys came over from the Rams, where the environment is very much a high demand, very compassionate culture. Well, that's what has happened in Jacksonville. The communication is excellent. They demand accountability from everyone by calling things out directly, but calling out doesn't always mean that it's bad. It also means that you call out the good. When people show up and show out, you praise them for it. And you praise them not only one-on-one, you praise them in front of their peers. So they earn the adulation of their peers because the peers see that the coach has praised a teammate, they love that. You also have the communication where, okay, I praise you loudly, but I also will criticize you quietly, but we're going to call it out. We're going to call a spade a spade. I'm going to take it on myself first as a coach. I'm going to blame me, but then I'm going to show you where you also were wrong in these things. So what you're doing is, by being aware and being humble enough to admit your own shortcomings, you now allow the team a path where they also can admit their shortcomings when they mess up. They also can hold their teammates accountable when they fall short. But this, I would say, this creation of accountability partners now helps the team because everyone wants to be at their best. And there's a checks and balances to make sure, hey, man, are you giving me your best? Yes, I'm giving you my best. Yes. And it goes back and forth. And then you raise the level of play for the collective, for the team, because everyone is taking it up. The other part of it, because I talk about it being positive, it is positive because this team is becoming a very direct reflection of Liam Cohen and who he is. In spending time, in case you don't know, every post game, at the end of every game, Liam Cohen comes and sit with me, and I spend about 10 or so minutes interviewing him for the radio, getting his thoughts fresh off the field, what he thinks about the team, who stood out, all of those things. And I can tell you, in being around him and in watching him work from afar, one, he's an excellent leader, great communicator, has superb communication skills in terms of conveying the message, saying what he wants clearly, concisely, so it's easy to digest and respond. No gray area when it comes to what he communicates to his players, to his coaches and the team. They live in black or white. They just live in it. They understand exactly what's demanded of them, and they respond in kind. When I watch him and I talk to him, he is mature beyond his years, wise beyond his experience would suggest that he would be, in terms of understanding the pulse of the team, understand what is needed to get done for the team to win at any time, but also in terms of bringing the energy, enthusiasm, and toughness that he wants to see from his team. It is one thing to be a head coach and demand your team be tough, to demand that, hey, they respond and that they have a hardened exterior and those things. If you're not hardened and tough and you fall apart when things go awry, what I believe happens is, in the midst of this adversity, a 2-game losing streak, the team is naturally looking to him to see, how does he handle it? Does he change? Has he gotten off his spot? Are the same things that he talked about being important when he first took the job still being discussed and talked about? Or were those just talking points for meetings that don't carry over to what you're seeing in the field? Once again, I'm an employee. Please go look at the hunt, particularly this time, because the behind the scenes access allows you to see how he talks to the team. Having lived it, having seen it firsthand, that will let you know how he gets down. In fact, you can check on my Twitter. There's an 11-minute clip. My most recent tweet was about the Jags and how it was a masterclass from a coach handling that. You just take that 12-minute clip and it's everything that you need to know about the coach, how he handles people, how they hold people accountable, but the positive yet firm environment that the Jaguars have created, which has led to them getting out to a 4-3 start. Now, with Liam Cohen, there was an expectation that this offense was going to operate a certain way. I would say through 7 games, the offense has been up and down, and maybe a slight disappointment based on what the expectations were due to the personnel that they had on the perimeter, the expected growth of the quarterback, and the play calling prowess of Cohen. I would say that, look, the team has been solid. They rank in the middle of the pack of all the categories. But early in the year, they were dominant when it came to running the ball. They had one of the top 5 offense on the ground and those things. In recent weeks, that has dried up a little bit as the Seahawks and Rams have really done a great job of taking away the running game. The running game right now is averaging just a tick under 120 yards per game. But Travis Etienne has been a star when they've had opportunities to really run it and relentlessly run it at the opponent. He is someone that, there was questions about whether he would be able to find a way to win the starting job, but he has thrived in this offense. You can see him put his foot down. He can run inside and outside zones. He has some wiggle when he gets to the next level, and he's underrated in terms of being able to catch the ball out the backfield. There are a lot of things that you can do with him, and it's one of the reasons why he's RB1 in this Cohen offense. He is explosive and dynamic, a home run hitter who also has a grinded out mentality that you want. The 2 guys behind him, Bashaw Tootin and LaQuentin Allen. Both guys are solid, but they're young guys trying to find their way. I like the toughness from each one of them, and I like the explosiveness from Tootin. When he has a crack, he can go the distance. Hasn't had many opportunities to show and prove that he has those skills, but you can just get a hint of it, a feel for it, and you can just know that it is all right there. When I go outside and we talk about the wide receivers, I would say that the wide receiver group has probably been the most inconsistent and maybe the biggest disappointment. Inconsistent in terms of, man, these hands or lack thereof from these pass catchers. Too many drops, leading the league in drops. And what happens when you drop passes? You end drives and you blow scoring opportunities, because on some of these plays that guys are dropping passes on, they are scripted winners that were designed to be called in that moment at that time versus that defense, and you don't have a chance to bring that back. The inconsistency, the drops, the pre-snap penalties, lining up in illegal formations, executing illegal shifts, a lot of that is on the wide receiver group. And a lot of those mistakes fall into the don't beat ourselves, the DBO categories, meaning, you want to make sure that you eliminate all the negative stuff that can impact you. So big plays allowed, turnovers, penalties, missed assignments, botched alignments, get rid of all that stuff. Well, the Jaguars are killing themselves because they're really being hurt in those areas. Pre-snap penalties where they're just making too many egregious errors, not getting lined up right, don't know what the rules are when it comes to shifting and those things. And then I would say just missed assignments, blown alignments, all that other stuff. Like they're just messing up too much on the perimeter and it's impacting the rest of the team. When it comes to individually, we can talk about Trevor Lawrence, and everybody wants to know, hey, what do you think about Trevor? How's it going? He signed a big contract, but it doesn't look like he's playing like a number one overall pick. No, like just because you paid him what you paid him doesn't mean that he necessarily is going to change. You anticipating him changing and getting better, but you make the deal knowing who he is, might be who he remains the duration of his time in the league. That said, as much as I want to blame Trevor, I will say that he's been great in the pre-snap phase. Most command that I've seen him have of any offense. Most confident and decisive when it comes to executing the pre-snap game that I've seen. Calls it out, very direct, very distinct, holds his teammates accountable. This is a new revelation that we're seeing in Liam Cohen's first year. As a result, it's been a little more tricky, a little more scattered in terms of who he's throwing to, and that has certainly hurt him. But the other thing that has hurt him is he struggled, just missing some open throws. The dirt ball, the errant pass, those things that have shown up, they've hurt this offense. So he needs to iron that out and become a better and more consistent passer playmaker to be able to help this offense go to the next level. Out wide, though, as much as we want to talk about Trevor, man, he's kind of handcuffed because his wide receivers have not been what we thought they were going to be. I thought the quartet of Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas Jr., Parker Washington, De'Ami Brown was going to create problems for people. Throwing Bretton Strange, all of that. It hasn't, because they haven't consistently caught the ball. And if they're missing the ball and they're not aligning right, it's all these negative plays that are tied to the passing game that's preventing the passing game from getting untracked. When I look at the pecking order, and Liam has kind of talked about reevaluating the team and their focus and emphasis after the bye week, I think if we had to reshuffle the deck and rearrange the furniture with the number one playmaker at the top, I think the number one playmaker right now has to be Travis Hunter, just in terms of the way he catches the ball, the flashes that he shows with the ball in his hands, all of those things. Doesn't mean that there's not a place for the others. It just means that if we're ranking them in terms of how we want to get it done and who's going to be the biggest impact player, look, we're going to start with Travis Hunter because he's the most consistent pass catcher of the bunch. After that, Brian Thomas Jr. would come in, but Brian Thomas Jr. has been in a big of a fog the entire year. Too many drops, too many things that should be winners for him. He just hasn't held on to. Some of it may be confidence going way back. Some of it may be new stuff going on. But whatever it is, he's not the guy that we thought would be a player that could play on the level of Jimmy Smith by his second or third year. He has to improve. He has to figure out what are causing the drops. Is it a physical thing? Is it a mental thing? A lack of concentration? Whatever it is, they got to iron it out because he's too good too valuable, too important to the offense to bypass him and just throw the ball elsewhere. Parker Washington, one of my favorites, had a terrific camp, has shown big playability in the kicking game, has also shown flashes of being able to recreate that as a receiver. The drops continue to plague him, not bad ones, but critical ones. In bad times, he just has a tendency to have just a missing valve, just misses it, and it hurts the team. So he has to fix that out. And then the final one is De'Ami Brown. De'Ami Brown has to show up. He's been a guy that'll show up some games, but he's inconsistent in terms of just being reliable when it comes to showing up, showing out, doing the work, being ready to play, and those things. But overall, offense has been solid. The offensive line has been a bit of a surprise, particularly early. If we ended the tape before the last 2 weeks, the offensive line had played at a high level, didn't surrender many sacks. The last 2 weeks, though, they've been absolutely beat up, hammered, destroyed, whatever you want to call it. They have been getting mollywopped. And if you can't control the trenches, you can't control anything else in the game. So they're having a tough time gaining control of the trend. And that's why it's always going to be a struggle until they're able to consistently run the football like they did early in the year, or protect like they did early in the year, where Trevor doesn't get hit, the ball comes out quickly, and they efficiently move the ball down the field. A lot of work to do on that side, but it's certainly doable. Now let's go to defense before we talk about wrapping this thing up. On defense, I got to tell you, defense coordinator Anthony Campanile is terrific when it comes to the energy and the messaging. He does a great job of conveying the message to the team with his presentations. He'll use visual aids, all that stuff to keep the team captivated, to keep them energized and upbeat, but more importantly, to help them understand that there's only one mode to operate in when you're the Jags, and that is whoop-ass mode. Because whoop-ass mode is easy to understand in any language. And Campanile gets these guys to understand that, man, the job is to whoop the opponent. Make sure you bring your A game. Make sure you bring the violence, the physicality, the toughness, all of those things. But it goes beyond that when it comes to the success of the team. This team wanted to transition from being a man team that blitzed and was a little exotic to more of a vision and break hybrid zone blitz scheme where we came aggressively, but you got a soft coverage behind it. You also want to be able to use in some of the different zones to keep the ball in front, to eliminate the deep throws, and to allow yourself to increase the odds of takeaways on tips and overthrows. Well, that certainly played out and happened for the Jags. Right now, they're number 2 in takeaways. They're doing a really good job of keeping the ball in front. They're creating turnovers when the game is on the line. And more importantly, they're playing fast and physical and free on the perimeter, which is, one, a testament to the simplicity of the scheme, but 2, a testament to the great instruction that the coaches have provided to get everyone on the same page so they know what they're doing. So now they can play fast and play on autopilot. When I look at this team, I told you, second in takeaways. They turn the ball over like no other. They create them in all different types of ways, whether it's interceptions, punch outs, scoop and scores, whatever it is, this team does it. And it starts because they've been effective up front for most of the season. Josh Hines-Allen continues to be the guy that kind of sets the table. He is, man, explosive, dynamic, a worker bee, relentless in his approach. It works. Trayvon Walker has been just as good, but the injury that forced him to sit out for a couple games after the Seattle game impacted him a little bit. Couldn't use his hand, couldn't do what he'd been doing. But when those two have been healthy, they've been dominant, particularly when Eric Armstead has shown up and been a flasher at the point of attack where he can dominate and disrupt and create chaos at the line of scrimmage. So those three up front have been good. You got some contributions from other guys, but the big three have done a really good job. But I will say this, of the big three, the one who has to bring it each and every week has to be Armstead on the inside, because if he can command some attention, it prevents the opponent from putting doubles outside to slow down Hines-Allen and Walker. So you continue to need Eric Armstead to play at a high level so that he can maintain his play and occupy blockers so the other guys can also dominate and impose their will on the opponents. At linebacker, I'm going to say this, man, Devin Lloyd should be the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year. You don't pick off as many passes as he's picked off for, but a pick six, number of splash plays he's been around, how he is really kind of reprising that role that he had created in Utah. And when you look at him coming out, he was all over the place, sideline to sideline, playmaker, doing those things. First couple years in the league, man, he wasn't utilized in the same role, and that impacted his production. More importantly, it impacted his ability to deliver these splash plays that everyone wanted. Well, now in this defense, he's a hybrid type in terms of blitzing, covering, running around, making plays, and it's showing up for him. It also helps that Foye Oluokun is a tackling machine and makes every tackle between the box because his instincts and awareness are good. That's why the defense is playing well, because anytime the front seven plays well, the back end is going to hold up. And the back end has been okay, but there's some challenges when it comes to the back end. The good thing is Jordan Lewis has been, as advertised, great leader, great worker, nickel back who has all the goods to dominate in the slot, but has also shown better than anticipated skills on the island. You can live with that. He's good. He's solid. They're holding it down on the perimeter. Greg Newsome, newbie, comes over from Cleveland, played 2 games now, but first game JSN baptizes him. Jackson Smith and Jigba takes him on a deep post because he's just trying to figure out, where am I at? Where do I line up? What coverage are we in? And those things. And before you know it, they've tossed one over their head. Good player, was a great player at times in Cleveland, has an opportunity to be a very, very good player in this system because his instincts, awareness, his technique, flawless. Just needs more game reps to show that he can do it. And then we'll go to the safeties and the back end. Look, Eric Murray, Andrew Wingert, they've been great. They've been solid. I would say that they are solid starters, limited by maybe their athleticism or lack thereof, but they are good enough to help this defense be what they want to be. They just need to continue to advance. And then at some point, one of those young guys, Antonio Johnson, somebody's going to have to step up and step in and be able to kind of get us out of a game. So hopefully everyone is understanding what their roles are and they're able to get it done. Last but not least, and the reason why I wanted to take my time to talk about Travis Hunter is because on both sides of the ball, he is unique, he's gifted, he's special. I've never been around a player that every time they are around it or touch the ball, like it takes your breath away in terms of just what they can do and the wiggle. That's Travis Hunter. First on offense, man, this dude is terrific catching the ball in traffic, doesn't flinch, doesn't blink, catches everything done there, goes inside, digs out the safety if he needs to, but just makes it happen. On defense, hold on before we go on the other side, he should be the number 1 receiver. And I'm saying that because I talked about the pecking order. He needs to be the number 1 receiver because the energy changes on the sideline when he touches the ball. If you want to keep the energy up, keep feeding him the ball because 1, it's going to be part of a winning recipe. But 2, it's going to help them out. Now we go to defense. He's been inconsistent with his defensive snaps. And going into the year, they sold everybody, or the conversation was, oh, we're going to play 2 guys. He'd be a 2-way player, he'd be extensively. But what we've seen is he is a man and a half player, meaning he's going to start on one side and be a part-time player on the other side. Right now, it looks like he's most needed on offense because they can't get it going. So it's limited his reps on defense. But I would say, man, this dude can run all day, never gives up, can do it over and over and over again. I'm not worried about them. I'm not worried about him. I'm not worried about him wearing down. In fact, I'm encouraged that he's going to be able to play even better down the stretch. Now that brings me to the Jags and what my expectations are. Every NFL coach will tell you that you go into the year trying to break the season up into quarters. And if you can get to 3-1 each quarter, that is a ticket to the postseason. Back in the day, 12-4 in a 16 week schedule would certainly get you in. But now you move it up to 17, maybe that goes up to being able to, okay, we go 3-1 a quarter. Maybe we can fall off a quarter, but we still need to get to the magic number. Now, some would say if you just want to get in the playoffs, that's 10 wins. But if you want to win the division, you got to aim high. You got to aim for 12, maybe even 13. So that's where it is. Can the Jaguars get to the point where they win the division? Yes. But what it's going to require is Trevor Lawrence is going to have to play great behind an offensive line that dominates and destroys with playmakers on the perimeter that are catching balls and producing explosives on catch and run concepts. If you're able to do that and you have Travis Etienne in the backfield making his mark as a guy that maybe gets anywhere from 75 to 95 rush yards per game, now this offense becomes more difficult to defend and becomes problematic. From a defensive standpoint, it's about making sure they continue to stick to the principles. No big plays. Don't allow the ball to fly over the top of the head. Make the offense drive the length of the field. Don't give them anything cheap and make them beat you. If you take care of business, these teams that are on the horizon cannot knock off the Jags. And when we come out the break, here's what we're talking about. Las Vegas Raiders, Houston Texans, LA Chargers, Arizona Cardinals. Without prognosticating and predicting, there's a chance for this team to go on a bit of a run. Now, a few of those teams are right on par with the Jags, like that are right there, and it'd be very, very difficult to defend, particularly division foes and other AFC foes, but it can be done. There's a path that this team has already walked to be able to do it. I would say that you have to continue to drive the team and look at the team and look at where you want to go, and then try to find different ways to help this team inch closer to that. So the last 4 or 5 games of the season, you're playing in games that have consequences, and they're meaningful, as they say, because you either are going to go into the tournament or you can get kicked out of the tournament based on how you perform that final month. That is why it's imperative for the Jags to get ahead of it by attacking this next quarter, where they can finish with a 3-1 record and set themselves up for a playoff run. When I think about it, I said, if you can get this team to 9 or 10 wins as a first-time head coach, man, Liam Cohen deserves a standing ovation. If they're able to win the division and do some damage in the postseason, then he deserves the Coach of the Year award. Regardless, we're going to be here to talk about it, because the Jaguars are certainly a team of interest. And even though they've fallen off the mark the last 2 weeks, man, the foundation is in place for this team to enjoy a very special season. And as they continue to enjoy it, we'll be right here to talk about it on the Bucky Brooks Show. Thanks for checking it out. Thanks for checking out all the cool stuff that we're doing on Believe. Thanks for our partner, FanDuel Sportsbook, who set the line at 7.5, the over-under. We're going to get over that, and that's going to win you some money. But until next time, I'm Bucky Brooks. This is the Bucky Brooks Show. I will talk to you soon.